Now, very first story, organized labor is set to table a proposal to government for an increase in the daily minimum wage. The proposal follows what it says has been a general increase in the cost of living, necessitating the need for an increase in workers' incomes. Though the Employment Ministry says it is ready to engage organized labor, it would not confirm if the daily minimum wage will see an increase.
The daily national minimum wage was last year increased by 17% from 4 cedi 48 pesos to 5 cedis 24 pesos. But considering the current economic situation in the country, the Trades Union Congress believes there's a need to review the minimum wage to reflect the current state of the economy. Although the TUC would not disclose the contents of a proposal it had forwarded to government considering the minimum wage, it was optimistic the proposal would be accepted. And it appears the average worker also favors an increase in the minimum wage.
In the system, because the economy is really, it's not in the good shape. So as the economy is not in the good shape, we need, at least, we all should bear 7,000 a day, or 7,000 to 7 cedis, 7 cedis a day to 8 cedis. It is very good. It is very good for any minimum for any worker, because the situation now, it is very tough.
20 cedis for a day will be okay. And for moments that we are now, 5 cedis nothing in Ghana here. And it's giving 5 cedis to a worker, you just encourage the worker to be what? To be more corrupt. And that's what I can suggest to the government. So the government should come out and do something better for the workers.
Yeah, the 7 cedis is okay for them. You know, they increase lorry fare and everything. Like some workers too, they are collect single spine and everything. You know, but if you raise that one too, we thank God for that. Everything will move.
But government last year indicated it was considering a freeze on the national wage bill this year to reduce the strain on its budget. Employment Minister Niama Ashite could not readily say if the freeze on the wage bill will indeed be implemented, but said his outfit will meet organized labor in the coming weeks to find a way out of the dilemma.
Wage freeze or no wage freeze, the point is that if you want to look at condition of service or salary increase, whether salary increase or no salary increase, this must be subject of negotiations. I mean, it's a two-way affair between government and labor. We should be able to determine what we think is best for this country. Okay, and that is exactly what the situation will be like.
He said if there is a need to increase the current minimum wage, it would likely to be done before May 1.
The last time, we were able to determine the daily minimum wage by by 1st May. Okay, so this time it looks like we will even do it earlier. You know, so for me, we all just should take our cool. It will be well.
The minister was, however, quick to add that an increase in the minimum wage must be commensurate with productivity. He also tasked public sector workers to live up to expectation.
Vice President Papa Kwesi Emisarata has described the new measures put in place by the Bank of Ghana to stabilize the cedi from further depreciating is critical to the health of the economy. Speaking at the American Chamber of Commerce Summit in Accra, the Vice President said that BOG reforms seek to enforce the legal requirements for doing business in the country and also to help reduce the dollarization of the economy.
The American Chamber of Commerce is a group of American and Ghanaian businesses that focuses on identifying investment opportunities in Africa and how best to invest in the continent. The chamber also seeks to identify the economic and political realities of Africa and learn from those who have led the way what practices are best for operating on the continent. The forum attracted American businesses such as the Coca-Cola Company, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Delta Airlines, Smiles International, and Cummins Ghana Limited. Vice President Kwesi Emisarata tasked the chamber to strengthen trade between Ghana and the United States through the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGWA initiative.
The AGWA success may not be sustained. The global financial crisis has had a severe impact on U.S.-Africa trade. According to the data that I was giving to the U.S. Department of Commerce, estimates that Africa's exports to the US have been severely impacted in several key export sectors, with declines especially in agriculture and textile.
It is estimated that trade between Africa and the United States declined by some 50% last year. The decline in the AGWA initiative, coupled with the tapering of the U.S. Federal Reserve Board stimulus program, according to the Vice President, were some factors affecting trade and investments in the country.
This tapering has contributed to a reversal of capital flows, leading to volatility in currency and equity markets in emerging and frontier countries. Global interest rates have started increasing, threatening us with higher costs of debt servicing. So these pressures, these developments have contributed to inflation pressures in the domestic economy, requiring the authorities to restore stability.
Kwesi Emmanuel also used the platform to defend the BOG policy directive to stabilize the cedi.
This exchange rate action has to be put in the proper context, because resulting from the exchange reforms of the 1980s, Ghana made significant economic successes. Growth rates averaged 7% in the period between 2001 and 2012, allowing us to introduce social sector interventions that protected the poor and helped us to make significant achievement in the Millennium Development Goals. It is therefore not the intention to abandon the policy that has contributed so importantly to improving livelihoods in our country. So our reforms seek to restore policy credibility, stability, and certainty in our economy.
The U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Jean Craig, tasked government to improve its financing regime, as well as mitigate the risk factors likely to affect trade between the two countries. The American Chamber of Commerce Summit in Ghana was on the theme, Building the American Brand in Africa, and was supported by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in America.
In other news, several community opinion leaders in the Greater Accra region have expressed some disappointment at the suggested street names given to communities by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. The community leaders were of the opinion that most, if not all, the streets should be named after persons who made considerable sacrifices in the area of development in their respective communities. 3,584 streets in Accra have so far been earmarked to be named by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
President John Dramani Mahama in April 2013 directed all metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies to name all streets and number all houses within 18 months, in line with the national policy framework and operational guidelines on street naming and property address system. Some communities in the western and Volta regions have already gone ahead with the implementation of the street naming project. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly, after a one-week validation and community consultation forum with each sub-metropolitan district assembly in the capital, met in Accra on Tuesday at a general validation forum to finally map out the best strategies to name the city's street.
This is a validation forum to make sure that they can see that some work has been done. The process has not ended. They still have opportunity to make an input so that in the final analysis we produce a product that will represent us, giving recognition to our former chiefs, our past elders, our past presidents, our leaders and influential people in the society, and people who have made meaningful contribution to the development of our nation.
But for some community leaders in the capital, though they lauded the assembly for speedy implementation of the project before the 18-month deadline, they still had some major concerns as to how the streets were being named.
My worry is that if we don't take time, there is going to be a whole total of confusion, because some of the names and then there's double naming. Some of the streets have a name which is repeated in a different area, and then all those things are some of the faults we've detected that for now. But I believe so far what they've done, it's quite impressive.
In our area, where they came with the papers with our assembly member, We wrote all the names of the opinion leaders and chiefs. But when we came here, when we went there and saw, there is nothing inside. There is nothing at all. What they wrote there is the old names in Abrikuma Central, Shukura. So we are not satisfied at all. We have to go back and sit down with them.
The public relations officer of the AMA, Numo Blafo III, said all the concerns of the opinion leaders would be addressed.
We're collating all the the complaints and concerns that we'll receive from people, and then later on we will still go back, meet with them, and then if we are able to resolve all those issues, then the names will be taken to the Accra Planning Committee meeting where it will be given approval. When it is given approval, then we send it to the main assembly for their approval. If the assembly approves it, then we send it for gazetting.
Ghanaians have meanwhile been urged to start using the street names to give directions when the process is complete in order to make the street naming project successful.
We can put behind us the coconut tree, the mango tree, the Amadan Holo, all of those things can be a thing of the past, so that we can see Asafache Nate Street, Gorgesburg Road. Then you go 2 blocks and then you see another name. Our pupils are here. They are the best translator and implementer of this program.
Various software and hardware will also be installed at the offices of the sub-metros in the country to ensure proper data management.
The Ghana Police Service says it remains committed to increasing the number of police officers out on the streets to assure the public of their safety and security. Speaking at the Ghana Police Visibility Commanders Conference held at the police headquarters in Accra, Director General of Public Affairs, DCOP Ampa Bening, said the administration is also improving the efficiency of the operation.
The National Patrol Department, popularly called the Visibility and Accessibility, was established to commence frontline service delivery as well as bring policing to the doorsteps of Ghanaians through patrolling to enhance performance and efficiency of the Ghana Police Service. A year on since its operations in the country, DCOP David Ampabenin says the Ghana Police Service has increased its visibilities to all regions in the country and also assured increase of personnel to ensure public safety.
Currently, we want the visibility, that's the administration. We want the visibility patrols and accessibility patrols to be an integral part of the police service, so that no one commander in future can come and just scrap it. We want to institutionalize it. Our men will be doing all other policing activities around their duty point except motor traffic checks, in line with the objectives of the visibility and accessibility patrols. The men will be expected to conduct periodic foot and mobile patrols around the visibility duty point, actively engage themselves in traffic management at the various junctions or intersections around the duty point.
DCOP Ampabenin also outlined some measures to enhance the operations of the visibility team in town.
Yeah, our people have received enough training from France, Turkey, a lot of training. So we are on top of our job. Currently, we are not using live bullet. We are using rubber bullet and then pepper spray and tear gas. These are the equipment we are using now. We will also be monitoring them. So only one person can rest at a time, and then the rest. Sometimes they are human beings. Somebody may feel tired. It is allowed that you can rest for about 15 minutes and then you will come. To ensure that the visibility becomes an integral part of the service. We are not just going to leave them like that so that anybody can come and scrap it. It will be institutionalized. And this is what we intend doing. I want to assure the whole nation and the general public that wherever they are, they should not fear, because our personnel will be around.
He urged the general public to support the police in combating crimes whilst ensuring their personal safety.
Now, how would you handle this? That you're a mother of 5 and your husband, the breadwinner, is told by doctors he has only a year to live. Well, that is the worry of Diana Anompo, whose husband is battling with terminal thyroid cancer. The dream of their children to have education may be jeopardized. Joynews' Seth Kwame Boateng and a team from the Ya Fumbia Cancer Foundation traveled to Boase, a village in the Brong-Ahafo region, where they chanced upon this family.
He is called Kwabna Bayo, and he's 35 years. His wife, Dana Nompo, says She is 25. They have been married for over 10 years and been blessed with 5 children. They live in a village called Boise in the Atani North District of the Brong-Ahafo region. The closest town to where they live is Yamfo, and it took us over 30 minutes to drive and at a point get down and walk to where Kwabena and his family reside. They live in a farmhouse, a one-man settlement in the bush. The shelter accommodating this family of 7 comprises 2 thatched buildings which are almost collapsing. They are alone in this bush with no house close to where they are. Kwabena Bayo, until some 4 years ago, was a very energetic and hard-working farmer and a bicycle repairer. But because of a cancer which has developed on the left side of his neck, Kwabena is now bedridden and can't work. Doctors say it is a thyroid cancer. It's a big, hard, reddish boil which is gradually closing his windpipe. Kwabena Bayo attempts explaining how it all started, but struggles to speak and in agony coughs and brings out a very brownish phlegm. Pitted 5-year-old father of 5 looks far older than his age now and has grown very lean, with his clothes now hanging loosely on him. And because of his condition, he is gradually losing the hair on his head. He can barely walk, and when he coughs without wearing a shirt, you can count his ribs. From his appearance, it is obvious Kwabena is in serious pain, and he confirms it is severe around his heart. They have 3 dogs here and some goats. They also look very sick and famished. Kwabena has been referred to the Konfonochi Teaching Hospital. His wife Dinah says on his first visit to the hospital, they had to go begging people for money, and that has since not changed. Kwabena's firstborn is 10 years old, and the 5th one is almost 4 months. Their firstborn is fortunate to have been whisked away from that bush by a family member who has put him through school in another town. There is no money to put the rest through school, as their mother tells me. There's no water here, so they drink from a pond about 200 meters from their house. It is very muddy with dirty particles in it, but there's no better alternative, so this is what they drink. What to eat is even the problem. Doctors say Kwabena's illness has reached a terminal stage and fear he may not live beyond a year. His wife Dinah is trusting God for a miracle. She thinks about the possibility of the husband dying, and tears begin to drop.
Oh dear.
The weather suddenly changes midway through my interviews. There are signs it will rain. At this point, I start thinking of where they will live in the event of a heavy storm. Where will they live if their weak building succumbs? Another important issue is whether these kids will ever have access to education. Like their father's life, their fate hangs on a miracle. Seth Kwame Boateng for Joynews.
And do help if you can. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news. Members of the Kumbungu District Assembly in the northern region Monday afternoon rejected the president's nominee of Alhaji Idi Manza Mahama, District Chief Executive for the area, after I failed to make the 2/3 majority.
Alhaji Idi Manza Mahama, who was the former District Chief Executive for Tolong Kumbungu, now separate districts, polled 20 votes short of 4 to gain 2/3 for confirmation. By the results, however, he has a second chance in 10 days to convince the assembly members to give him approval. Prior to the elections, the Northern Regional Minister Bate Siding pleaded with the assembly members to endorse the president's nominee to facilitate development in the area. Soon after the results were declared, irate supporters of Alhaji Idi Manza were seen grumbling and calling for the heads of the assembly members, and some opinion leaders claiming they had disappointed them. Some were also seen issuing threats to the assembly members, saying they must refund monies they took after failing to clinch their part of the deal. Apparently fearing for their lives, most of the assembly members and opinion leaders were seen whisked away by armed security personnel who were at the scene to avert problems. It was already anticipated that assembly members might not confirm Alhaji Idi Manza following a strong warning given them by the NDC youth and some opinion leaders in the district.
The parliamentary committee which crafted the controversial plant breeders bill has rejected claims that it seeks to give legal backing for the introduction of genetically modified organisms into the country. Addressing a news conference today, the Select Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs said though elements of the bill touches on GMOs, its main objective is to protect the intellectual properties of plant breeders.
The Speaker of Parliament on January 8, 2014, referred the Plant Breeders Bill 2013, which was first initiated in 2000, to the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee to investigate the concerns raised by a section of the general public and report to the House before debate is conducted on the bill. After several consultations with all the parties involved, the committee chairman said there was a need for the committee to educate the general public on the bill.
The bill sought to do is to continue the efforts of government to create the environment that can incentivize Ghanaians to produce. It is specifically focusing on plant breeding. Already in Ghana, plant breeding is ongoing, and Ghanaians are consuming the products of plant breeding, even cocoa. But it's important that we don't continue to misinform Ghanaians and create fear and panic.
The Deputy Attorney General, Dominic Ayine, also stressed on the need for the protection of the intellectual property rights of the plant breeders.
Scientists in this country are engaging in a lot of activity that leads to the creation of new varieties of plant, or plants. That is an intellectual property right that the farmers, the breeders have, even the ordinary farmers have. Should we not, as a country, protect that intellectual property right? Which means that anybody who seeks to produce it in commercial quantities will pay royalties to him for the time and the effort that he spent and the intellect that he invested in creating that new variety.
But a member of the committee, Adjoa Safo, challenged the bill, saying it will affect the ordinary Ghanaian farmer.
All over the world, there are concerns about the consumption of GMO products. And I don't think that as a country, we need this at this time. Countries that generate these things are countries that, they have food supply problems and how to grow foods in their various countries. And so they do all these things to be able to feed their people. I don't think Ghana has a food security problem. We have a lot of our foodstuffs being stuck in our villages, and the problem is transportation from the villages to the cities for consumption.
The committee is expected to submit its report to the House soon for consideration.
Well, the MP for Fiduasa Sokori, Frank Boache Ajing, has apologized for recent utterances impugning the integrity of the Speaker of Parliament. The MP has suggested that the Speaker was influenced in his decision to stop a debate on the controversial takeover of Merchant Bank by Fortis. The leadership of the House had been tasked to investigate the matter, but the MP took to the floor today to apologize to the Speaker for his conduct.
I, Honorable Frank Boachi Ajin, MP, do hereby render an unqualified apology to the Right Honorable Speaker for the statement made by me when I was interviewed by a Joy FM reporter on the subject matter of the motion for the investigation into the sale of the Merchant Bank Ghana Limited. Among other things, I stated that the Right Honorable Speaker was influenced by Honorable Hanatete before he gave his ruling on the motion. In fact, I had no factual basis in making that statement. Those remarks made by me were actuated by political motives rather than factual information. Accordingly, I withdraw every bit of the statement attributed to me and hereby apologize to Right Honorable Speaker without any shade of reservation.
Staying in Parliament, its Public Accounts Committee has commenced its public sittings with the Education Ministry after the Auditor General's report was referred to the committee.
The committee first met with the School of Allied Health Sciences, which failed to reconcile its expenditure with its receipts.
Since then, we put in measures and we go by tenders, and then we receive quotations, and we have a committee in place that do the purchasing for the School of Public Health. I'm talking about accountable interest, not just about purchases. If you give interest for any other project or any other thing, what measures have you put in place? What we've done is that we have all our administrative officers who process the accounting papers. We give them, every department has an interest of 200 Ghana cedis.
The University of Professional Studies was also summoned before the committee, but unlike the School of Allied Health Sciences, the committee was impressed with the balance sheets of the university. Accra Polytechnic was also commended for keeping good records of its activities.
Members of Parliament and some deputy ministers have challenged claims by the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana that they weaken the governance process if they go to school whilst in office. According to them, upgrading themselves educationally will rather benefit the nation more as they strive to give their best.
The MPs were reacting to comments by the Presby moderator at the dedication of an ultra-modern structure of the Epiphany Congregation of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana in Wa.
Are still going to school, but will not concentrate fully on their service to the nation. Is Ghana short of graduates who have completed their schooling? No doubt there is not only low productivity in this country, but the country is also not being able to generate the needed revenue to pay workers.
But the MPs disagree.
I don't want to be disrespectful, but I believe the doctor, reverend or whatever didn't get his doctorate before becoming a pastor. He was a pastor. He was pastoring people before he was able to acquire his doctorate. That is such his life. Everybody wants to grow. Government will come, government will go. But my personal development when it comes to education, I will always see it as paramount. If I have the chance and see that I can juggle class with I mean, we have weekend classes. We go most of the graduate schools now, they do weekend classes. So I can't see myself different from him being a reverend minister, deciding to improve himself educationally, and me sitting at home because I'm a minister of state. He's a minister of the gospel, but he decided to go and do his PhD.
There are strict rules on these matters. You can't just leave your job and say you are going to school. Because as a minister, for example, you can be called anytime to do things, and you should be always on top of your work. If it's on your private time in the evening, there's no work, you've closed after 5, you're taking a night class, but in the middle of the day, it's difficult to see that you can perform your ministerial responsibilities and go to school at the same time. I think that is difficult.
There are some people, you know, who are multi-tasked, purposed. I mean, they are able to undertake various activities, and they do those things also effectively without necessarily disadvantaging some other activities they are engaged in. And so those multi-tasked endowed people, those multi-tasked endowed people, you know, can effectively, you know, discharge their roles as ministers of state or members of parliament and still, you know, acquire some other knowledge.
It is important that everybody should try to upgrade himself so that he can perform his job better. So long as you are not using the time that you are supposed to be working, I don't see too much wrong with it. What it also says is that probably they are not yet the finished article, you know, and maybe other people who have either better experience or who are properly so qualified should probably be in their place.
Time now for some business reports with me, Abigail Adumakun Enchi. Now, government is set to adopt best practices in the oil and gas sector through the South-South Energy Initiative of the United Nations. The initiative aims at improving institutional capacity of emerging oil and gas countries. The move is also to help Ghana get access to southern markets and transform the local oil and gas industry. 7 years since Ghana struck oil and gas in commercial quantities, but it is still a young player in the global oil and gas industry. In spite of its immense contribution to the economy, a lot more needs to be done to make the sector more beneficial to Ghanaians. A South-South Energy Initiative SSEI designed by the United Nations therefore presents the opportunity for emerging markets to learn from the successes of countries in the South that remain well developed in the global oil and gas sector.
We are a unique and dedicated hub for policymakers to debate and discuss on an ongoing basis the management of southern energy, management of the southern energy industry, so as to ensure sustainable development. This is oil and gas for development. We all know that some of us have reached great heights in terms of developing our sectors. Everybody talks about Malaysia. So we do believe that this is a chance to begin to maximize and share commercial advantage amongst ourselves.
She noted that the SSCI is not to compete with other established institutions like OPEC, but to strengthen it. For Government of Ghana, adopting the initiative is a sure way of value addition and an avenue for job creation in the oil and gas sector.
If we were not looking constantly for expertise and advice from the North, but we were to work together and offer our expertise to each other and to learn from our experiences, to share the best practices, to share the things that have gone wrong as well as the things that have gone right, and as a result of which have new models to work with that are more relevant to our lived experience and our development trajectory. That's what we want to do with this initiative.
We in Ghana are talking about how we harness gas to make sure there's value additions for job creation and for industrialization. And we found out that countries like Trinidad and Tobago had really done that for a long time. And it was important that we build those relationships to leverage all of those learning experiences.
They assured they will push the SSEI for more debate in Parliament, although it has already received approval from Cabinet since July 29, 2010. Well, the president of the Hotels Association has assured its members will adhere to the Bank of Ghana's directive to desist from quoting or accepting foreign currencies for their services rendered. According to him, the association has already been engaging its members on the issue.
The Bank of Ghana on Wednesday directed all institutions, including those in the hospitality industry, to desist from pricing or accepting foreign currencies for their services. But the Hotels Association's president says their engagement with the central bank predates the announcements.
Our members are absolutely aware. I think that we have done a bit of sensitization last year after a meeting with the Bank of Ghana. So most facilities, have made sure that if they wanted to charge in foreign currency or make foreign currency a medium, a mode of settlement, to apply for the relevant licenses and procure the relevant exemption. So that is done, and we think that if any hotel should do this without approval from the Bank of Ghana, then they are not complying with the law.
He however explained some of the hotels have been exempted from the directives.
Well, I don't think there is a major shift from that, because certain hotels have these exemptions, and they will still continue to accept settlements for goods and services consumed by guests within their hotels. That is not every hotel which has exemption from the Bank of Ghana to accept foreign currency in settlement for goods and services that guests consume. There are few registered hotels which have that kind of exemption, and I don't think that there is any variation in the in the collection of foreign currency for these hotels. The only change is that they will not be able to cash over the counter.
The Bank of Ghana has warned failure to comply with the directives would result in sanctions, including jail terms and suspensions and revocation of operating licenses.
And to some foreign business news, the new chair of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, has said the bank will continue to cut its stimulus measures for the U.S. economy. She said if the U.S. economy keeps improving, the bank would take further measured steps to reduce the support. In her first comment since taking over, Yellen also signaled that interest rates would remain low. She emphasized continuity in the Fed's approach to policy, saying she strongly supported the approach driven by her predecessor, Ben Bernanke. There had been an improvement in the U.S. jobs market, she noted, but said that the recovery was far from complete. Still on international business news, Barclays is planning to cut between 10,000 and 12,000 jobs this year, including 7,000 in the UK. Barclays Bank, which has 140,000 staff in total, said it had already told about half of the staff affected. Barclays said the job cut would hit 820 senior manager roles, of which 220 were managing directors and 600 directors. About 400 of the senior job cuts are from the investment bank. Barclays said it was hopeful it could achieve the majority of the cuts voluntarily. The fresh job cuts come after the bank cut 7,650 roles last year. The cuts came as Barclays said it had increased the total amount it paid on staff bonuses last year. And that's it for business. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi. Sports is up next.
Right, we begin sports tonight talking about the Black Stars, and Coach Kwesi Appiah has expressed delight at his players who are now earning more playing time abroad after the January transfer window. The likes of Samuel Nkum, Jordan Liu, Abdul Majid Waris, and Michael Aston, who moved to new clubs in the Italian and French leagues, have been featured regularly. Coach Kwesi Appiah is excited with the trend ahead of the World Cup.
I think it's a good thing. Because some of these players were in their various clubs and they were not having playing time. So if you think your movement will help you to get more playing time, in the first place to help the players, and I believe that it will help the nation as well. For me personally, I think it's a very good step. We pray that they will all perform very well in their new clubs, so that from now till May, they'll be in top shape.
Now, one major concern for Kwesi Appiah has been the goalkeeping, following the lack of playing time for the first-choice goalkeeper Fatal Dawda at Orlando Pirates. Fatal, since moving to Pirates 6 months ago, only made his debut in the PSL over the weekend. The former Shanti Gold shot-stopper insists his lack of playing time hasn't affected his form.
That's the issue now. I know yourself, you are worried I'm not playing. Let's say when you put together best players together, definitely some will start, some will sit down. If you are sitting out, that doesn't mean you are not good. Especially in goalkeeping. How many times do you see a team changing a goalkeeper? Unless injury or suspension card, yellow, red card and stuff. You understand? So that's what I'm saying. It's a challenge. I know I'm not coming to find it easy, but I need to, fight and then learn something from others so that I can come and help my nation. You understand? I need to progress in life. It's not easy, but I know things will change. The most important is when you are playing a club, you know every club, the club is being owned by the fans. You understand? They know, as you said, you met a lady at the airport, she said that's what, but they know what I can do. But I think I need to work. I'm still working hard. Waiting for the most important thing for me to do is to wait for the chance. When the chance comes, I'll just grab it.
Let's do more on the World Cup. And Brazilian ambassador to Ghana, Madame Irina Vidigal, has rubbished claims that all those who intend to visit Brazil during the World Cup must get a match ticket before the visas will be processed. Hundreds of fans have been queuing up at the Brazilian embassy with the hope of securing a visa ahead of the Mundial, but many have been turned away for their inability to meet the requirements. Madame Irina Vidigal has been explaining to Joy Sports the conditions for awarding the Brazilian visa.
Who want to go without a ticket, they will have to go through the normal process of a tourist visa. And I suggest they go as soon as possible from the beginning of March. The visa is valid 90 days because due to the law that is signed with the FIFA, when the visas for the World Cup come to the embassy, they will have preference. So whenever I have the situation that I will have one visa for the World Cup and just the tourist visa, normal one, I will have to attend the one that's for the World Cup with the tickets. And it's not an ultimatum, let's make it clear. It's just what it's going to happen in every country. In every country it's like that. And of course, if we are asking for the tickets, it's because everybody is able to get its ticket in time to get the visas.
All right, so it's definitely a place we all want to be, but you just have to make sure you follow the guidelines and make sure that everything is set. Now, let me quickly give you some updates on what's happening currently. A couple of games ongoing in the Premier League. We can talk about the Coppa del Rey as well as the Coppa Italia. Let's first of all start with the English Premier League. At halftime, Cardiff City drawing goalless with Aston Villa. Hull City doing the same with Southampton. West Ham United drawing goalless with Norwich City. But there's good news for Israeli and the folks. Chelsea leading by 1-0 against West Bromwich. Just a secret. Arsenal play Manchester United tomorrow, and Chelsea can actually extend the lead over there. We get into the Spanish Copa del Rey. In the first leg, Real Madrid beat Atletico Madrid by 3-0. They're currently leading that particular game by 2-0. That means 5-0 already on aggregate. There's simply no way coming back for Atletico Madrid in that local vendetta. Talk about the Coppa Italia. Emmanuel Udinese is in serious trouble at the moment. They're losing by 1-0 against Fiorentina in that semi-final. Right, so it's all set up for what happens tomorrow between Arsenal and Manchester United. Just for those of you who really want to get into it, Chelsea definitely going strong in that one. And of course, you want to find out what happens between Barcelona as well when they play Real Sociedad tomorrow. That's all for sports tonight. My name is George Adi Jr. Israel will join us with some more. Have a good night.
Sports. Every Valentine's Day, lovers across the world give presents and expect to receive one. Now, the big question for most people as the day approaches is, what is the most appropriate gift to give? And then there's the issue of cost. Kemini Emmanuel, in the following piece, goes out to seek some answers. Apparently, we don't have that story. We'll try and bring you that story later. But in another story, a showbiz story, Hollywood star and former U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Shirley Temple Black, has died at age 85. The one-time adorable child star actress was one of the most popular stars of the 1930s and featured in hit movies like Bright Eyes and Stand Up and Cheer.
Indeed honored to receive the Life Achievement Award from my peers the Screen Actors Guild.
The former actress and diplomat Shirley Temple Black died on Monday at her home in Woodside, California. Reports suggest she died of natural causes. Born in 1928, Temple soon became a major star after getting her first film role at the age of 3. Her singing, dancing and acting won her fans all over the world. She was given a special juvenile Oscar in 1935 when she was just 6 years old, a record she has kept till date as the youngest person to have ever received an Academy Award. Her film credits include Curly Top, The Littlest Rebel, Baby Take a Bow and Little Miss Marker. Her success led to U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt describing her as Little Miss Miracle for raising morale during the Great Depression and was credited with helping save 20th Century Fox from bankruptcy. Temple starred in a total of 43 feature films but found it difficult to sustain her career in adulthood and left acting behind in 1950. After retiring from films in 1950 at the age of 21, she returned to the spotlight as a politician and diplomat. She was appointed a member of the U.S. delegation to the United Nations General Assembly before President Ford named her the U.S. ambassador to Ghana in 1974. U.S. stars have been paying tribute to her on Twitter, including film critic Leonard Maltin, who wrote, "One of the most talented and brightest stars in the world has gone to the sky, a genuine phenomenon."
Even though I didn't know what an actress was, I've been blessed with 3 wonderful careers: motion pictures and television, wife, mother, and grandmother, and she's here tonight.
May her soul rest in perfect peace. Now we're back to our Valentine's Day story, what to give and how much it's going to cost you to do that. Emmanuel has more.
What would you give your Valentine is the question I posed the following persons, and each of them struggled to give me a response.
At least you can get something nicer.
What is the nicer thing? Tell me the nicer.
The nicer thing is something that will make your girlfriend or your spouse a bit shocked or surprised, like
something, maybe something I think he doesn't have.
But I'll try not to give a reason for their stance. Clearly, I wasn't satisfied, so I sought more.
So I'm here at Legacy Gifts. We'll probably find a few ideas as to what kind of gifts we should give to our loved ones this Valentine. Come with me.
It's in prices, so what you can afford, you add it to it. But for 300 CDs hamper, we add the 9830 to it.
I see.
Yes. 90.
Obviously, this bag is too small for the 300 CDs.
Yes.
I'll just hold.
Yes, for this, and we add some card.
So these are the 300 CD ideas for a basic hamper. It includes this teddy bear. But what does it matter the kind of gift you give to your partner?
Let's say, for instance, my boyfriend. Yeah, this thing is okay. He'll be grateful. But because this is for men, and everything in here is for men. It's basically for men. So I think for my boyfriend, I'll give that to him.
However, it is not all smooth, especially for the one I love. I think you're really gorgeous, and I want you to be mine. So please make all my dreams come true and say you'll be my Valentine.
That sounds like Kevin is falling in love all over again. That's it for Showbiz. Before we wrap up the bulletin, we bring you a recap of our top stories. Organized labor begins push for increase in daily minimum wage, citing increase in cost of living. Vice President Kwesi Misarata says recent measures to halt depreciation of Ghana cedi is critical to the health of the economy. MP apologizes for recent comments suggesting Speaker of Parliament was influenced in his decision to stop a debate on the Merchant Bank saga. Parliament rejects claims plant breeders' bill is to give legal backing to introduction of GMOs. And police administration to improve efficiency of police visibility program as it puts more men on the streets. That'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Delali.